Final. Yep, Roger. I might head out maybe this next upcoming weekend, or what the heck? Maybe tomorrow. I don't know, but most likely it'll probably be a week from today, because I need to work on this thing and get it going. But yeah, I'll let you go. W9VPU clear and monitoring.
W5FC. MCOMnet, second Monday at 7 p.m., W5FC.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anyone need to use a repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? This is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. My name is Brenda. I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins to Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink mode. Code 37. Astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio video links are available online. Go to W5FC.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. 1. General announcements. 2. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. 3. National Space Society events. 4. Discussion topic of the evening. 5. What's up? 6. Space exploration and space history. 7. Constellation of the week. 8. Space launches of the week. 9. Recent astronomical discoveries. 10. Visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. 11. Astronomical Q&A. And 12. 73 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So, let's go ahead and start with low power and short time check-ins. Please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you are transmitting from.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot, India, WB4MFI, Ted, Dallas, low power, short time.
This is Whiskey 5 Golf, Uniform Sierra. It's Gus, far, far northeast Dallas, low power. N2 VIP, November 2, Victor, India, Papa, Ken in Las Colinas.
All right, let's pick those up. We got WB4MFI, Ted, W5GUS, Gus, and N2 VIP, Ken. All right, next let's take general check-ins.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo, Bill and Irving.
Whiskey 9, Victor Papa Uniform, Sam and Allen.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas. Alpha Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson.
Okay, we have N5BB, Bill. The next is W9 call. I'm sorry, that's all I got. Would you please come back with your full call sign and name?
Roger, this is Whiskey 9, Victor Papa Uniform. That's VPU, W9 VPU, Sam and Allen.
I copy. W9 Victor Papa Uniform Sam. Is that correct?
Affirmative.
Very good. Then we have NT5TM Tony and AA5AH Robert. All right, let's go for some Echolink check-ins now.
Oh, Foxtrot 5, Zulu, Bravo, Lima, Bill, Las Vegas.
Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-Ray Kelly, last Skynet in Quinlan.
Golf 5, Bravo, Zulu, Whiskey, Jay near Weber.
Okay, we have KF5ZBL Bill, K5KTX Kelly, and KG5 Bravo Zulu Whiskey J. All right, let's go back and take any check-ins of any mode now.
This is Kilo Golf 5 Echo India Uniform David, St. Paul, Texas.
Kilo 5, Charlie, Cody, Dallas, Ski.
Kilo 1, Golf Bravo Delta, Guy in 40.
Okay, KG5EIU David, and I think it's Kilo India GBD Guy. And then I think we had a couple of doubles. If you didn't hear your call, would you please come back?
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz.
Well, okay then. Let's talk about the Afterglow movie. Tom, K5ICX, would you like to tell us about that, please?
Yeah, I'll be happy to do that. This is KE5ICX with my highly accurate synopsis. Noah Weil was a librarian, but not just any librarian. He was a librarian for the Snow Branch, a forgotten library on the wrong side of the tracks. Here, hardened readers would frequently check out and then keep books for weeks, months, sometimes years at a time. He was a librarian without books. His Dewey Decimal System was in shambles, mostly just single numbers. It was obvious his collection was in serious replenishment. It was the day the Count walked in, looking for a particular book which caught the librarian's eye. Join us for the TNT TV movie series, this particular episode, or movie, The Librarian, first of the Judas Challenge from 2008, tonight at 10:30 p.m. Back to you, Brenda, and welcome back, KE5ICX.
Oh, thank you. It is so good to be back. Okay, other announcements. No club or races nets this Sunday. Monday net, MCOM 101, 1900 local, N5KRG net control. Lecture and lab Saturday, March 25th, 10 a.m. at the Dallas Medical Center. EFHW kit for 40 meters and up, led by Joe, KI5UKE, and the cost on the kit is $40. Other announcements. The AMSIT Radio Amateur Satellite Group has 2 nets available to Dallas residents. On Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central, you'll need Echolink installed and be registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSIT. Also, a live audio link is available on their website, amsitnet.com. This net originates in Houston. Dallas AMSIT Net East, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on this repeater, 146.88 megahertz, PL 110.9 megahertz, Tuesdays. Tom, N5HYP, is the net control. All are welcome to check in. First Tuesday of the month is the VARC Club night, so no AMSIT East that night. Dallas AMSIT Net West is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.14 megahertz, PL 110.9 megahertz, positive offset. So the DARC hosted nets are as follows. On Mondays, first week, Ham Fixin's net. Second week, MCOM 101. Third week, Ham Fixin's net. Fourth week, GeekNet. Fifth week, Surprise Net. Well, if we told you what it was, it wouldn't be a surprise. On-air participation is encouraged. Tuesdays, AMSIT East, 8 p.m. Fridays, Search City Simulation, 8 p.m. Learn about emergency radio communications via CERT-trained amateur radio operators. Melissa, KI5GRH, is usually the net control. Visit the most disaster-prone city in the universe every Friday. Search City, all are welcome. On Saturdays, DECnet at 7 to 8 p.m. And then, of course, Skynet. First and third Sundays, Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air, known as MODA. Every day, a RRL net, National Traffic System Training net, every night at 6:30 p.m. Central. All are welcome to check in on any or all of these nets. All right. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events. I'm going to call on Chaz, KF5JHA, to give us information on that.
Thank you, Brenda. Good evening, everyone, and it's really great to hear you, Brenda. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, March the 24th. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also held on Zoom. The featured speaker, I'm not sure the featured speaker on the topic. Now, Saturday night public observing stations have begun again. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday nights so that there was an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing stations. Now, today would be the second Saturday, And so that is held at Frisco. That's kind of a far reach to the repeater, but if there's anybody at Frisco Star Party tonight, please come now with your call sign and give us a report. Well, it was wishful thinking anyway. You can check the TASS website, texasastro.org, for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observation.
Thank you, Chaz. Next up, National Space Society events and activities. Bill, N5BB, would you please give us some information on this?
Yes, I will. It's so good to hear you back on, Brenda. This is N5BB, November 5, Bravo, Bravo. I happen to be the membership director and member at large of the North Texas chapter of the National Space Society. Our meetings are normally on the second Sunday afternoon of each month, and so our March meeting is tomorrow afternoon, starting at 3:30 p.m. at Spring Creek Barbecue in Irving. Visitors are welcome if you'd like to come by. Spring Creek Barbecue is at Highway 183 at Beltline in Irving. Again, we get together at 3:30, and our presentation starts at 4 p.m. Tomorrow, the presentation will be on Mars. Mars exploration, past, present, and future, an overview by our own Ken Ruffin. The big event coming up is going to be in the end of May, the International Space Development Conference 2023 will be at the Embassy Suites in Frisco on May the 25th to 28th, 2023. If you are a National Space Society member, there will be discounts for the attendance. There's neat dinners there, fancy dinners with famous people in the space business, and there'll be people there talking about all different kinds of space development, things about the International Space Station. It's going to be happening after the International Space Station, the Lunar Space Station, our flights with Artemis to the Moon, and plans to go to Mars, as well as other things. You can find out more about ISDC by going to isdc2023.nss.org. You can find out more about the North Texas chapter of the National Space Society by going to the URL ntx.nss.org. We also have a Facebook group. If you have any questions about National Space Society, you're welcome to contact me. My email address is n5bb@arrl.net or space@byrom.net, space@byrom.net. That's all I've got, Brenda, N5BB. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is WB5OZL. Do we have any more check-ins now?
Kilo India 5, Uniform Alpha Uniform, David MSP.
Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James and Carrollton.
Okay, the first call was a KI-5, I believe. David, would you please come and complete the call for us?
Kilo India 5, Uniform Alpha Uniform.
Very good. KI-5, Uniform Alpha Uniform. David, welcome to the net. Next, KG5, Whiskey Victor Lima James. All right. Well, let's go into our presentation now by myself. The title is Asteroids May Have Picked Up Building Blocks of Life from Interstellar Clouds. This is written by Keith Cooper, and I don't remember where I got it. It might have been space.com. So scientists have taken a big step towards figuring out where building blocks of life, such as amino acids and amines, form in space. New research has found that interstellar clouds may have played a significant role in creating the conditions that helped create the building blocks of life. Amino acids, which are a key ingredient of life, could have originally been made in interstellar molecular clouds like that from which the solar system formed before winding up in asteroids that later crashed on Earth, bringing the amino acids with them. Carbonaceous chondrite meteorites are rich in amino acids and amines. The latter are nitrogen-bearing organic compounds that are crucial components of proteins and biological cells in life on Earth. Understanding where and how amino acids form is therefore important in better understanding the origin of life. Scientists led by Dana Qasim of the Southwest Research Institute in San Antonio, Texas, and Christopher Matarese of NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center have taken a big step towards figuring out where amino acids and amines form in space by creating them in a lab under asteroid-relevant conditions. Many studies have focused on trying to simulate the formation of amino acids in carbonaceous chondrites, which are meteorites from carbon-rich asteroids that formed at the dawn of the solar system 4.5 billion years ago. Qasim and Matarese's research takes things even farther back in time to the interstellar cloud of molecular gas and dust from which the sun and planets eventually formed. The makeup of asteroids originated from the parental interstellar molecular cloud, which was rich in organics, said Qasim in a statement from SWRI. While there is no direct evidence of amino acids in interstellar clouds, there is evidence of amines. The molecular cloud could have provided the amino acids in asteroids, which passed them on to meteorites. So Qasim set about replicating conditions in interstellar clouds to try and form amino acids. She used ices such as ammonia, carbon dioxide, methanol, and water that are commonly found in interstellar clouds and bombarded them with high-energy protons from a Van de Graaff generator to replicate the ices being irradiated in space by cosmic rays. The proton bombardment smashed the ice molecules apart, the component parts then reassembling themselves as more complex organic molecules, including amines and amino acids, such as ethylalamine and glycine, and what Qasim calls an organic residue, a kind of gloopy slime. That's a technical term. When the solar system formed from the molecular cloud, these amines and amino acids would have been transferred into carbonaceous asteroids and eventually brought to Earth through asteroid impacts and meteorite falls. However, the abundance of amines and amino acids that Qasim created doesn't match their abundance in carbonaceous chondrites. Matarese wondered if there was an extra stage in which more amines and amino acids are formed inside the asteroids, which were still warm and contained liquid water at the time, shortly after their formation. Kasim and Mataris's team further processed the samples of organic residue in conditions like those in the asteroids. They found that not only did the proportions of amines and amino acids from the interstellar cloud remain intact, but that the abundance of some of the amino acids, such as glycine, doubled after 7 days of aqueous alteration in the warmth and water. The important takeaway is that the building blocks of life have a strong link not only to processes in the asteroid, but also to those of the parent interstellar cloud, Kasim said in his statement from NASA. There is a caveat, however. Even with asteroid processing accounted for, the abundances of amines and amino meteorites, it is possible that having fallen on Earth, the meteorites have become contaminated with terrestrial organic material, alternating their amino acid abundances. As such, Kasim and Mataris, along with many of their colleagues, are eagerly awaiting the return of samples from the carbonaceous asteroid Bennu, which was visited by NASA's OSIRIS-REx mission. These samples will parachute back down to Earth in their capsule on September 24th, 2023, and will represent pristine material uncontaminated by life on Earth that dates back to the birth of the solar system. Coupled with newly detailed information about the ice composition of interstellar clouds from JWST, scientists may finally be able to determine for sure whether amino acids formed in our solar system or in interstellar space. If the former, then it is possible that life could be unique in our solar system. If the latter, then amino acids should be spread far and wide across the Milky Way galaxy, raising the potential for life on planets around other stars. Okay, this is WB5OZL. Do we have any more check-ins now? All right, then, moving on to our next segment. Going to call on Chaz, KO5JHA, and his segment is called What's Up? Go ahead, Chaz.
Thank you, Brenda. This is Chaz, KO5JHA. We call this segment of Skynet What's Up because it's all about what's going on astronomically over the next couple of weeks. That was slide number 1. Slide master, slide number 2, please. In the 1700s, astronomers were interested in observing and discovering comets. And one French astronomer, Charles Messier, was one of those comet hunters. But he had a problem. He kept mistaking these fuzzy things that were scattered through the sky as comets. These fuzzy things did not move compared to the background stars, and so no one really knew what they were, so they were ignored. But Charles Messier, these fuzzy things were bothersome. Slide master, slide number 3. So Messier decided to write down the location in the sky of these permanent fuzzy things so that he would not mistake them for a comet. He first started with a few on a list, then more were added. Slide master, slide number 4. His friend and assistant, Pierre Muchan, helped Messier to compile a list of these objects. Slide master, slide number 5. The first list of 45 of these objects was published in 1774 in the French Academy of Sciences in Paris. Only 17 of these 45 were credited to Messier, with the others having been observed by other astronomers. By 1780, the list had increased to 80 objects. Slide master, slide number 6. In 1784 edition of Connaissance des Temps, the official yearly publication of astronomical ephemeris in France, a total of 103 objects were listed. But through historical research, 7 more of these objects have been added to the list. So now we recognize a list of 110 Messier objects in the sky. In the 1700s, it was a list of things not to look at. But because they were not comets, and astronomers back then didn't understand them. Slide master, slide number 7. Now, it is a list that most popular astronomers observe and image every night. This list contains open star clusters, globular star clusters, elliptical galaxies, spiral galaxies, irregular galaxies, nebulas that are reflection, emission nebulas, planetary nebulas, a supernova remnant, and more. Slide master, slide number 8. This list of 110 Messier objects were not scattered evenly through the sky. In fact, there is a time of year when, if you're at the right place on the Earth and the moon is around the new phase, you can observe all 110 objects in just a single night of observing between sunset to sunrise. That time of the year is around the vernal equinox. The location on the Earth that works best is the southern part of the northern hemisphere. Trying to observe as many of the eminent objects in one night is called a Messier marathon. Slide master, slide number 9. Back in the early 1980s, I participated in a few Messier marathons. One such Messier marathon, we used a 32-inch telescope at Perkins Observatory in Palo, Ohio. That's just north of Columbus. A few more than a dozen of us got to observe 108 of the 110 objects that night. Slide master, slide number 10. So the further south you go in North America, and the closer the new moon occurs around the equinox, then the higher likelihood that you can see all 110 Messier objects in a single night. Since the new moon this year is around the equinox, so for the next 2 weekends, I will be in the Big Bend area trying to see all 110 of those faint, fuzzy objects in a Messier marathon. For good or bad, I will not be on Skynet for the next 2 Saturdays. Slide master, slide number 11. On March the 7th was the full moon, so the current phase of the moon is a waning gibbous. And on the third quarter moon will be on March the 14th. March 19th, the moon is at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth, at a distance of 352,696 kilometers. New moon will be on March 21st. First quarter moon will be on March 28th. On March 31st, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 404,919 kilometers. Slide master, slide number 12, please. Well, tonight, March the 11th, there's a unique conjunction of Jupiter and the asteroid Vesta in the western evening sky. You might be able to catch it still, but I think Jupiter's probably pretty low by now. Slide master, slide number 13. Early tomorrow morning, we've already talked about this, but I'll talk about it again. March the 12th at 2 a.m., we turn our clocks forward by 1 hour to 3 a.m., so it's the beginning of daylight saving time. There's been some tries in both the Texas legislature and the U.S. legislature to either keep us on standard time or daylight time all year, but so far no action has occurred. If we return to standard time, it'll be on November the 5th, 2023. Slide master, slide number 14. On March 19th, there is a conjunction of Saturn and the Moon in the early morning southeastern sky. Slide number 15. March 20th is the moment of the vernal equinox in the beginning of spring at 4:24 p.m. Central Daylight Time for the Northern Hemisphere. On that day, the sun rises directly east and sets directly west everywhere on the surface of the Earth. And there's 12 hours of daylight everywhere on the surface of the Earth. Slide master, slide number 16. On March 22nd, there's a conjunction of three objects, Jupiter, the asteroid Vesta, and the Moon in the western evening sky. Brenda, you didn't know I was going to talk about asteroids tonight, did you? And I didn't know you were going to talk about asteroids. Well, I really did. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide number 17. Once again, the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, March the 24th, and the meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also held on Zoom. Not sure the featured speaker and the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas and their meetings. Go to texasastro.org, and you'll find that information. Slide Master, slide number 18. Now, do any of you out there in Radioland have any questions or need a fill on any of the information? Or do you just have a general astronomy question? Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill. So as the moon wanes, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live. Until next week, well, actually, I'll be doing another Skynet segment in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is Chaz, KF5, JHA, back to our net control. Oh, JJ, oh, my audio was better.
Thank you very much, Chaz. All right, next up, space exploration and space history. This night, it's Kelly's turn. K5KTX. Go ahead, Kelly.
Brenda, this is Kelly, K5KTX, and so happy to have you back on the net, Brenda. Hope you are doing much better. Well, NASA and the Canadian Space Agency, or CSA, will announce during an event at 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time on Monday, April the 3rd. Please put this in your calendar. From NASA Johnson Space Center's Ellington Field in Houston, the 4 astronauts who will venture around the moon. Traveling aboard NASA's Orion spacecraft during Artemis 2, the mission is the first crewed flight test on the agency's path to establishing a long-term scientific and human presence on the lunar surface. The event will air on NASA television, the NASA app, and the agency's website. Artemis 2 is the first crewed mission aboard NASA's foundational human deep space capabilities, the Space Launch System rocket, Orion spacecraft, and the ground systems needed to launch them. The approximately 10-day mission will test and stress the Orion spacecraft's life support systems to prove the capabilities and techniques required to live and work in deep space in ways only humans can do. The crew will include 3 NASA astronauts and 1 CSA astronaut, demonstrating the agency's commitment to international partnerships through the Artemis program. Artemis 2 builds on the successful Artemis 1 flight, which launched an uncrewed Orion atop the SLS rocket on a 1.4 million-mile journey beyond the moon to test systems before astronauts fly aboard the systems on a mission to the moon. So for those of you that are betting, according to CNN, the top contenders to be selected for this mission are Randy Bresnik, Victor Glover, Jeremy Hansen, who is the Canadian, Christina Cook, Anne McLean, Jessica Meir, Stephanie Wilson, and Reed Wiseman, who is the former chief of the astronaut office. And apparently one perk of being the chief is that once you step down, you are giving yourself the best flight assignment available. My money for a long time has been on Christina Cook and Victor Glover. But then again, I've never had much success gambling, so I am very excited to hear the announcement on April the 3rd. In space history for this past week, starting with March the 6th, 2015, the Dawn spacecraft went into orbit around Ceres, a dwarf planet in the asteroid belt. Dawn utilized a high-tech ion propulsion system which allowed it to go into orbit around 2 different celestial bodies, a first for any spacecraft. Dawn had studied Vesta in 2011 to 2012. March the 9th, back in 2011, Space Shuttle Discovery completed her final mission, STS-133, touching down at NASA's Kennedy Space Center at 11:57 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Discovery first launched in 1984, the third shuttle orbiter introduced into the NASA fleet. She flew a total of 39 missions, more than any other shuttle, made more than 5,800 orbits around the Earth, and carried 252 crew members into space. Among those crew members were a number of trailblazers. Eileen Collins became the first female shuttle pilot and commander on Discovery. Bernard Harris became the first African American to perform a spacewalk. Senator Jake Garn became the first sitting member of Congress in space, and Senator John Glenn became the oldest person to fly in space. Discovery was the first shuttle to dock with the International Space Station on STS-86 after the delivery of the Unity module by Endeavour on STS-88. On her final mission, the crew of STS-133, Steve Lindsay, Eric Bowe, and Alvin Drew, and Nicole Stott, Steve Bowen, and Mike Barrett attacked the permanent multi-purpose module to the International Space Station. After retirement, Discovery was delivered to the Smithsonian Institution and is now on display at the National Air and Space Museum. March the 10th, 2006, the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, or MRO, entered orbit around Mars. The spacecraft fired its 6 main engines for about 25 minutes. This put MRO in a long elliptical orbit. Over the next 6 months, MRO used close passes through the upper atmosphere of Mars, known as aerobraking, to slow itself by about 1,000 meters per second and arrive in a near circular science orbit. Built by Lockheed Martin under the supervision of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL, MRO was designed to analyze soil and surface features to determine the history of planetary water sources both on and under the surface. The spacecraft was also outfitted with one of the largest cameras flown on a planetary mission up to that point in order to observe geological and water features that could obstruct or damage landing and roving vehicles. Well past the planned 2-year primary science mission, MRO starts its 18th year in orbit around Mars, continuing to analyze the science of water on Mars, providing telecommunications relay for other spacecraft on and around Mars. On this date, March 11th, back in 1960, Pioneer 5 was launched from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station to begin research on the space between Earth and Venus. The spacecraft carried 6 scientific instruments used to measure magnetic field phenomena, solar flare particles, and ionization in the interplanetary region. Pioneer 5 sent over 3 billion bits of data back to Earth at a maximum speed of 64 bits per second. Regular data transmissions lasted only until the end of April 1960. The last communication of any sort with Pioneer 5 came at a then record distance of 22.5 million miles on June 26, 1960. Data from Pioneer 5 confirmed the existence of magnetic fields throughout the solar system. Celebrating some astronaut birthdays this past week, starting with March the 5th, 1962, Robert Kerbeam, who was part of Space Shuttle missions STS-85, 98, and 116. March the 6th, 1927, Gordon Cooper, who was on the Mercury Atlas 9 and Gemini 5, and I had the great pleasure of getting to meet him not too long before he passed away in 2004, but that was a great honor to get to meet him. March the 7th, 1936, Lauren Acton, who was on Space Shuttle mission STS-51F. March the 10th, 1961, Laurel Clark, who was on the ill-fated 107 Columbia Space Shuttle mission. And today, celebrating a birthday, March the 11th, 1956, Curtis Brown, who was part of Space Shuttle missions STS-47, 66, 77, 85, 95, and 103. And that's all I've got this evening, Brenda. I will send it back to you. This is K5 KTX.
Thank you, Kelly. This is WB50ZL. Do we have any more check-ins?
Number 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay and Mesquite.
Clay, I missed the first part of your call sign. Would you please repeat it for me?
Brenda, no, it's November 5, Oscar Foxtrot. November 5, Oscar Foxtrot.
Very good. Copy. November 5, Oscar Foxtrot. Welcome to the net. All right. Next segment up, we're going to hear from Chaz again, and he's going to present Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week. KF5, JHA, go ahead.
Thank you again, Brenda. This is Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week, and it's named in honor of Silent Key, Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we have continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's constellations of the week this week, it's actually two of them. It's a doggone good constellation, Canis Minor, and which is the little dog, and Monoceros. You know, wouldn't it sound like it would be a hippopotamus or something like that? But Monoceros is a unicorn. Canis Minor's name means the lesser dog in Latin. Canis Minor represents the smaller dog in Orion, the hunter. In Greek mythology, the dog is often depicted pursuing a hare, represented by the constellation of Lepus. Monoceros is a unicorn. It would have been better if it was a hippopotamus. I already said that. Monoceros, the hippopotamus, just sounds better, doesn't it? It's a more modern-day constellation, having been introduced in the 1600s. There are no myths associated with that constellation. Slide Master, slide number 21, please. Facing south in the evening sky, Orion can be found by looking for three stars of equal brightness in a straight line and evenly spaced. This is the belt of Orion. There are two bright stars above the belt represent Orion's shoulders. The brighter one to the left is Betelgeuse, and the one on the right is Bellatrix. The two bright stars below Orion's belt is Orion's knees. The one on the left is Sciath, and the one on the right is Rigel. Now, starting with Orion's shoulder stars, draw a line from Bellatrix to Betelgeuse and keep going. Should run into the brightest star of Canis Minor, Procyon. Between Procyon and Betelgeuse is the fainter constellation of Monoceros. And Slide Master, slide number 22, and this is what lots of people have been waiting for all night long, the jokes of the week. Now, you know that I like to use jokes that are sort of associated with the constellations. Well, maybe. What is the difference between a carrot and a unicorn? One is a bunny feast, the other is a funny beast. How do unicorns get to the park? On a unicycle. state do unicorns like the most? Maine. Okay, I thought that was good. What do you call the best student of Unicorn University? An acorn. Oh my. And what did the unicorn want to do? I'm sorry. Why did the unicorn want to go to a private school? So he could wear a uniform. And finally, what do you get when you mix a unicorn and a cow? Corned beef. Now, if you want dog jokes, you can go back to last week. We did Canis Major, and I did some dog jokes then. Okay. Slide Master, slide number 23. Procyon is the name. It's the brightest star in the constellation of the little dog. Literally means before the dog, because it rises before Sirius, the dog star in Canis Major. Canis Major is where Sirius is. Canis Minor is where Procyon is. Procyon is a yellow-white star of spectral class S5. It has a mass of about 1.5 times that of our Sun. It's twice the Sun's diameter. It is about 7.5 times more luminous than our Sun. It has a visual magnitude of 0.37, and the star is about 11.4 light years in distance. Like its bright companion Sirius, Procyon also has a white dwarf companion star orbiting it. Procyon B is a magnitude 13 white dwarf. It's very difficult to resolve due to the approximate 3 arc-second separation from its primary star. Plus, it's also very faint. The binary nature of Procyon was long suspected before many years of being finally confirmed. Beta Canis Minor, Gormacia, comes from the Arabic phrase al-gomasa. I'm just messing these up all over the place, which means watery eye or the weeping one. This comes from the ancient Arabic legend where Canis Minor and Canis Major were two sisters. One of the sisters, represented by Canis Major, eloped, leaving her sibling behind, sad and lonely. Another version of the story has the sisters separated by the river, the Milky Way. It's a hot blue star of spectral type B8, shining at a magnitude 2.9. It is a distance of 170 light years away. It's slightly variable, belonging to the Gamma Cassiopeia category of variable stars. Slide Masters, slide number 24. NGC 2350 is a magnitude 12.3 lenticular galaxy. According to the Annals of the Deep Sky, which has an interesting introduction for this galaxy, NGC 2350 is a Class S0A system, which is a lenticular spiral transition type between S0 and SA. It's at a distance of 28 megaparsecs from us, which works out to be about 91 million light years. So no wonder that it is so small and faint. And this is one of the brighter galaxies in Canis Minor. This is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Let's move on to monocerous objects. Slide number 25, Beta Monoceros is a very nice triple star system shining at magnitude 4.6. It has been confirmed to be a true binary system. It was discovered by Sir William Herschel in 1781. According to the Burnham Celestial Handbook, the system is believed to be about 150 to 200 light years away. The separation between the A-B pair of stars is estimated to be about 400 astronomical units. In an 8-inch Dynamax telescope, Beta has no color. All three stars appear white. The star's multiple nature was noticed at even a 41 power, one of Dynamax's lower magnifications. At 84 magnification, all three stars are seen, appearing as a single white star and two slightly fainter stars very close by. Gamma Monoceros Gamma is a magnitude 3.98 and is a double star. It has a faint magnitude 13.1 companion with a separation of 53, almost 54 arc seconds. The primary star is an orange giant star with a diameter of about 45 times that of the Sun. It's about 500 light years away. Slide Master, slide number 26. M50 is an open cluster that is believed to have been the first discovery sometime before the year 1711 by Cassini, the father of Jean Cassini, who wrote about his father's discovery in his book Elements of Astronomy. Among other things, the younger Cassini is known for discovering the gap in Saturn's rings, which now bears his name. Messier looked for the open cluster in 1771, but could not find it, and speculated that the elder Cassini may have seen a comet. However, the very next year, 1772, Messier did find the open cluster, and it became number 50 in his famous list of deep sky objects. The cluster is easily found in binoculars and a finder scope. In his book, The Messier Objects, Stephen James Amiro mentions sighting a red star in M50 by astronomers of the past, but notes that he did not see it. Amiro further writes that astronomer Brent Arkinol speculates that the reported variations in the star's color are due to variations in the observer's eyes, particularly at low light levels. Brent Arkinol, by the way, was a classmate of mine at the Ohio State University, and by the way, Brent Arkinol was the main organizer back in the 1980s for the Messier Marathon in Ohio at Perkins Observatory, where I saw 108 of the M objects in one night. Ooh, some more trivia. Slide Master, slide number 27. It's actually multiple objects in a list, but it's really one single object. NGC 2246. It's called the Rosette Nebula. It's a large nebular complex. It is best examined in detail through photographs, which show intricate dust lanes and globulars. It was discovered in pieces, one section at a time, starting in 1864, and its full extent was not known until the early 1890s, when Edward Emerson Barnard photographed it at the Lake Observatory. The fact that the Rosette was discovered one piece at a time is why it has 3 NGC numbers. For many years, the Rosette was considered to be the test object, with astronomers assuming that it was only visible to very large aperture telescopes or in photographs. The late Walter Scott Houston, always seeking to push the envelope, began encouraging astronomers and amateurs to look for the Rosette starting in the 1970s. Then, in 1980s, a revolution in amateur astronomy took place with the introduction of nebula filters. Under a dark sky, people could hold a ultra-high density UHC nebula filter up to their otherwise unaided eye and see the entire Rosette fairly easily. Try this yourself if you have one of these filters in the dark sky. Of course, a filter or cup telescope makes the Rosette an easy object. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 28, please. I like JJ's comment. What do you feed a unicorn with a sweet tooth? Candy corn, of course. Oh, back to slide number 28. There are a few more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellations of Canis Minor, the little dog, and Monoceros, the unicorn. I've just given you a sampling of a few of those objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 75 different observing programs, most of which have about 100 objects. Now, if you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pin in about a year from the Astronomical League. Slide Master, slide number 29, and that is Miss Carolyn's Constellations of the Week, a doggone good constellation, Canis Minor, the little dog, and Monoceros, no, it's not a hippopotamus, it's a unicorn. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words on deep sky objects that I've used, borrowed, and steal for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now, next time I'll be taking a look at Gemini, the twins. And this is KF5 JHA sending it back to our net control. 73, everyone. Good night.
Thank you, Ted. Next, Tom, KE5ICX with space launches for the week.
All right, thank you, Ms. Brenda. This is Tom, KE5ICX. We have on March 12th, that would be tomorrow, a launch from Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. A Russian government Proton rocket with a Breeze-M upper stage will launch the Olymp-K communications satellite for the Russian military. March 14th, 15th, Falcon 9 SpaceX CRS-27 launch. This will launch a Dragon 2 spacecraft on a cargo resupply mission to the International Space Station. The Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. The flight is the 27th mission of the SpaceX conducted under the Commercial Resupply Services contract with NASA. In March, we have the Starlink 2-8 launching from SLC-4E at Vandenberg. The Falcon 9 rocket will launch another batch of Starlink Internet satellites. This mission will deploy Starlink satellites into a high-inclination orbit, inclined 70 degrees to the equator. Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Pacific Ocean. Sometime in mid-March will be the launch of OneWeb 18 from Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota, India. Each launch India's geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle MK3 will launch 36 satellites into orbit from OneWeb, which is developing a constellation of hundreds of satellites in low Earth orbit for low latency broadband. March 17th to 18th, another Falcon 9, SES 18 and 19. This will launch from SLC-40 at Cape Canaveral in Florida. The Falcon 9 rocket will launch SES 18 and 19 communication satellites for SES of Luxembourg. 18 and 19, built by Northrop Grumman, will provide C-band television and data services over the United States. Sometime in March, we're waiting for the big one. This will be the Starship launch from Boca Chica Beach, Texas at Starbase. The Super Heavy SpaceX and Starship launch vehicle will launch on its first orbital test flight. The mission will attempt to travel around the world for nearly one full orbit, resulting in a re-entry and splashdown of the Starship near Hawaii. We have in March also another Falcon 9 Starlink 6-2 from SLC-40 in Cape Canaveral. We'll launch another batch of second-generation Starlink V2 mini-internet satellites. The Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. We also have a Delta IV Heavy launching for NROL 68. This will be from SLC-37B, Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. The United Launch Alliance Delta IV Heavy rocket will launch a classified spy satellite cargo for the U.S. National Reconnaissance Office. The largest of the Delta IV family, the Heavy version features three common booster cores mounted together to form a triple body rocket. This is the penultimate flight of the Delta IV rocket. And then finally in March, Falcon 9 SDA Trachea 0. This will launch from SOC-4E at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. The rocket will launch around 10 Trachea 0 demonstration satellites for the U.S. military's Space Development Agency. The launch is the first of two Falcon 9 missions to carry SDA demonstration spacecraft for a future constellation of military missile tracking and data relay satellites. The Falcon 9's first stage booster will return to landing zone 4 at Vandenberg. And that's it, Brenda. That's all I got. Back to you, KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. This is WB50ZL. Next, we've got recent astronomical discoveries. and this is an article from ScienceDaily.com. It's entitled, Astronomers Discover Metal-Rich Galaxies in Early Universe. While analyzing data from the first images of a well-known early galaxy taken by NASA's James Webb Space Telescope, Cornell University astronomers discovered a companion galaxy previously hidden behind the light of the foreground galaxy, one that surprisingly seems to have already hosted multiple generations of stars despite its young age, estimated at 1.4 billion years old. We found this galaxy to be super chemically abundant, something none of us expected, said Bo Ping, a doctoral student in astronomy who led the data analysis. JWST changes the way we view this system and opens up new venues to study how stars and galaxies formed in the early universe. Ping is the lead author of Discovery of a Dusty, Chemically Mature Companion to Z4 Starburst Galaxy in JWST Early Release Science Data, published in Astrophysical Journal Letters. Earlier images captured by the Atacama Large Millimeter Submillimeter Array, ALMA, in Chile, contained hints of the companion resolved clearly by JSWT, but couldn't be interpreted as anything more than random noise, said Amit Vishwas, a research associate at the Cornell Center for Astrophysics and Planetary Sciences, and the paper's second author. The team estimated the companion galaxy, which they labeled SPT0418-SE, was within 5 kiloparsecs of SPT0418 star galaxies in the early universe. Its distant light bent and magnified by a foreground galaxy's gravity into a circle called an Einstein ring. The Magellanic Clouds, satellites of the Milky Way, are about 50 parsecs away. The proximity suggests these galaxies are bound to interact with each other and potentially even merge, an observation that adds to the understanding of how early galaxies may have evolved into larger ones. The two galaxies are modest in mass as galaxies in the early universe go, with SE relatively smaller and less dusty, making it appear bluer than the extremely dust-obscured ring. Based on images of nearby galaxies with similar colors, the researchers suggest that they may reside in a massive dark matter halo with yet-to-be-discovered neighbors. The most surprising about the companion galaxy, considering its age and mass, was its mature metallicity. Amounts of elements heavier than helium and hydrogen, such as carbon, oxygen, and nitrogen. The team estimated that as comparable to our Sun, which is more than 4 billion years ago, and inherited most of its metals from previous generations of stars that had 8 billion years to build them up. We're seeing the leftovers of at least a couple of generations of stars having lived and died within the first billion years of the universe's existence, which is not what we typically see, Vishwas said. We speculate that the process of forming stars in these galaxies must have been very efficient and started very early in the universe, particularly to explain the measured abundance of nitrogen relative to oxygen, as this ratio is a reliable measure of how many generations of stars have lived and died. All right. So next up, we have visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. Tom, KE5 ICX, do you have anything for us?
Yes, Brenda, I do. I have few here, not a lot, but I have a few this evening. At the International Space Station, of course, March 16th has a very good pass, minus 3.5 magnitude at 2019. In the southwest, it will reach its highest point. In the northwest at 2022 at 70 degrees, and it will fall to the northeast at 2026. That's it. That's what I got for you. Next is the Tiangong Space Station. That's the Chinese space station, by the way. It has a good pass on March 19th, minus 2.3 magnitude at 2054 in the evening. Out of the west-northwest, it reaches its highest point at 2058 at 74 degrees, and it goes into shadow shortly thereafter, 2058-32, so about 30 seconds later at 60 degrees. Next is, the best thing I can give you is the Hubble Space Telescope on March 14th at 1.9 magnitude. It'll be at 6:08 a.m. out of the south. It'll reach its highest point at 31 degrees in the south-southeast at 6:09, and it will fall to the east-southeast at 6:13. 15th, the next day, we have 1.8 magnitude, 5:56. This will be at 34 degrees coming out of shadow. It'll be at 5:59 out of the east-southeast. 17th, we've got two passes. The better one is 2.4 magnitude. Let's see. No, let me go back. The second one is better, 1.5 magnitude at 7:05 a.m. out of the west-southwest. Reach its highest point at 7:09, and it'll fall to the east-southeast at 7:13. And then March 18th has a good pass, 1.6 magnitude, 6:52 a.m. out of the west-southwest. Reaches its highest point at 6:55, and it'll fall to the south at 6:59. You get all this information from heavens above. Just plug in your location. I put in Louisville because that's where I live, and it will generate these Kepler charts for you so that you can see these objects as they fly overhead. It's also very good for amateur radio satellites as well. You supply the frequencies, they'll supply the location. Back to you, Brenda, KE5ICX.
Thank you so much, Tom. All right, this is WB50ZL. Do we have any more, any additional check-ins now? Okay, well, we are running a little bit ahead of time. So, tonight we had, I'm sorry, hold on. Had 17 check-ins. Thank you who all participated this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful Internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday, this is WB50ZL, Brenda, and I'll be closing the net at 10:15 p.m. local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. 73, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. But before we go, let's mention our next net, KE5ICX. Tom, tell us what time we're going to meet.
Yes, Brenda, I will. We'll be back in 15 minutes, so we'll be here at 10:30. So take your time. You don't have to rush back. 15 minutes, and then we'll be talking about the librarian, the Curse of the Judas Chalice from 2008. See you then. KE5ICX.
normal state.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
Right, it is 10:30 and it's time for the Afterglow Movie Net. Tonight's movie is a 2008 American-made for television fantasy adventure and a third in the Librarian series called Starring Noah Weil as Librarian. Text completes a collection of artifacts from Vlad Dracula and his vampire horde. The television film was released in American cable channel TNT on December 7, 2008. The sequel to 2004's The Librarian Quest for the Sphere and 2006 The Librarian Return to King Solomon's Mine. By the way, this is KE by the ICX. I'll be your net control this evening. Okay, well, the plot goes on and on. I'll read a little bit of this, but I'm not going to read the whole thing. It says, Librarian Lynn Carson is in England bidding on the priceless Ming vase for the library. Simultaneously on the phone with Charlene, played by Jane Curtin, his girlfriend, Katie, who is at the end of her rope. Frantic and distracted, he bids £1 million and loses Katie. Signs to the vase, touches into gold. Flynn deftly defends the stone and races to meet Katie. Has flown home. Let's see here. Meanwhile, in Carpathia, a group of former KGB agents led by Sergei Kubitschek plan to bring back the defunct Soviet Union by resurrecting famous vampire Prince Vlad Dracula using the Judas Chalice. Bucharest, they kidnapped Professor Laszlo, a genius historian with a penchant for vampire lore who has searched for the chalice for years. The elderly disabled professor joins him unwillingly and directs them to New Orleans. In the library, Charlene chastises Flynn for going over budget. Combined with the loss of Katie as the last straw, he has a full-blown meltdown. Let's see. Charlene drops. Wonders if he'll come back. I'm not going to read the rest of it. Anyway, no, I'm not going to read this. It goes on and on and on. But it's a fun movie, which we'll be talking about. So, rather than read, I'm going to go ahead and give you the rules. This is it. You know what it is, basically. We'll take check-in. And then after check-in, we will discuss the plot of this film. Oh, I will ask you if you've seen the film or not, of course. Then we'll discuss the plot, followed by characterization, followed by special effects, followed by anything you want to talk about. Sometimes rounds 3 and 4 are just mixed together depending on how long the other conversation goes. So, and how tired we happen to be because it is kind of late at night for people. So I will now take check-in. If you saw the film, first off, I'll ask you your call sign, your name. If you want to give your location, you can. Let me know, did you see our fine film, The Librarian Cursed with the Judas Chalice? So I'll begin check-ins now.
Oh my, Tom. Is nobody else here? Or are they just not brave enough to be first? This is N5BB, Bill and Irving. Yes, I saw this made-for-TV movie.
This is WV5OZL. Brenda, yes, I saw the movie.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Vampires are pretty scary, but yes, I saw the movie.
Golf 5, Bravo, Zulu, Whiskey. Jay and I did see the movie.
Okay, let me get those checked in. I've got N5BB. Bill, he kicked us off with, yes, he saw the movie. Irving, WV50ZL. Miss Brenda, yes, she saw the movie. NT5PM. Tony, yes, he saw the movie. KG5BZWJ, yes, he saw the movie. Additional check-in. We're going to be talking about The Librarian Cursed with Judas Chalice. That's our movie this evening. You don't have to necessarily have seen the film, but just let us know you're out there. So please come now with your call sign, your name. Did you see the movie?
Kilo India 5, Kilo Whiskey Golf Cruise, Arlington. Yes, I saw the film.
Okay, we picked up one more. I got KI5KWG. That's Cruise in Arlington. Yes, you saw the movie. I have a suspicion there's two people over on 7-2 on the traffic net. We'll come back in a little bit and get them checked in since we're starting the net actually a little early for us. It's supposed to start at 10:30, but we usually have about a 5 or 10 minute break. But Skynet ended a little early, so we ended up starting here on time. So we'll go down the list. We'll start with Bill. He was the guy brave enough to check in first. So Bill, what did you think about the plot for The Librarian Cursed with the Judas Chalice, the TNT made-for-TV fantasy adventure movie?
Oh, thank you, Tom. This is N5BB. I delayed like probably the other people did because I didn't really want to be first, but who cares? I'm not sure if I'll be excited enough to continue for the whole net. You may hear me disappear on a future round and go get some beauty sleep. I had never heard of this made-for-TV series. I believe this was the third in the series, and they made, I don't know, I think they made another one or two after this one. I can't remember for sure. I had never seen this. Didn't know that Bob Newhart and Jane Curtin were in this other made-for-TV series. And when I first started watching it, it only took me a few seconds to realize, yes, it was a made-for-TV kind of thing. It's pretty obvious pretty quickly. And then in the copy we saw, there were the jumps where the commercials would have been. At least there were no ads on the Tubi or whatever we watched it on. Oh, what can I say? To me, it's kind of a silly plot, trying to mix in some library somewhere that's supernatural, kind of, with a guy that's some kind of immortal guy that's in charge of it. And in this episode, getting involved with vampires, which are also immortal, or nearly immortal, would be immortal. And I don't know. What is this? Is it science fiction? Slightly. Is it fantasy? Supernatural fantasy? Well, yeah, really. From looking at this episode, did I understand where was the library exactly? Who funded the library? Was it in London, I think? But who funded it? Why did it exist? What was the purpose of it? How did this guy get involved with it? I don't know. None of that was explained. I guess maybe if it was a series, you're supposed to understand it from watching the earlier ones, but I didn't understand it. The main character was a little bit of a goofball in some places, especially early on. But he seemed to be able to do a wide range of things, kind of like a James Bond character, which is kind of weird. I don't know. I had a hard time interpreting whether it's supposed to be a supernatural thing or just some kind of general speculative fiction thing, or I don't know. I didn't dislike it. I guess as I watched it, I kind of wanted to see what happened to the end. The characters were a bit likable, I would say. The vampirist was kind of likable, etc. The bad guys were very unlikable, the Russians. This is in 5BB, part of Afterglow.net. But would I watch other episodes of this? I don't know. It seemed like they were all kind of supernatural things, like the saucer stone. What the heck was that? Where did that come from? Explain that. To me, that's just some fictional thing. So I didn't really appreciate what they were doing because it seemed like it was all fictional stuff they were trying to go get. How could they possibly be real? Unless you are into all the supernatural stuff. So as you can see, I was turned off by the supernatural aspects of it, Tom. Other than that, I guess it was mildly entertaining in 5BB.
Okay, thank you, Bill. I was, while you were speaking, I was looking this stuff up. I found out that this was actually turned into a television series, too. There were 3 movies: Quest for the Sphere, Return to King Solomon's Mine, and Curse of the Jews' Chalice. Then, and that was up 2004 to 2008, then in 2014 through 2018, they did The Librarian, plural, with the same cast, basically, Jane Curtin, Bob Newhart, and our librarian guy, for a total of 42 episodes. and it appears it was fairly popular. So I didn't know any of this. I did see the first film, although it's been so many years ago, I don't remember a lot of the details. So, and that was the thing, the origin story explained all of that, sort of. Supernatural is supernatural. I kind of with you on that. But at any rate, I'll save my comments. Next up is Brenda, WB5OZL. Brenda, welcome back. And here is the first movie review in about a month. So what do you have to say about this one from KE5ICX?
This is WB5OZL. Well, this is a popcorn movie, but I just thoroughly enjoyed it. Just the sheer escapism, and it was a fun romp, and I didn't try and make too much sense out of it, because you're not going to. But a lot of pretty people, lots of talented actors in it. I'm not real sure the story held together, but that's okay. It was fun. And I also had never heard of this before. But, yeah, it reminds me of a lot of other things like The Mummy and, these quest movies where you're going around trying to find something and outwit the bad guys and chases and crashes and all kind, witty talk. So I thought that was fun. It was very sad that she died, but I understand. I don't know how you could have treated it otherwise. So I would like to go and look up the others and see what they're about. Now, this thing was supposed to be set in New Orleans. It wasn't. It was filmed in Baton Rouge. So I don't know what the story is there, but you could certainly buy that it was New Orleans. What else? Yeah, it was more of a supernatural thing than anything, than sci-fi. But that's okay. Not the biggest vampire fan in the world, but it was all right. Okay, back to net, W5OZO.
Okie dokie, thank you, Brenda. Boy, we may just blow through this one fast. Well, I always say that, and we usually go the time. All right, just to remind everyone, tonight's movie is The Librarian, The Curse of the Judas Chalice with Vampires from 2008. So we're moving on to Tony, NT5TM. Tony, you saw the film this time. Wonderful. What did you think from KE5IC?
Well, The Lost Boys was just a ton more fun. Was really, well, I guess music is technically the third round, but I was disappointed music wasn't more a part of the plot. The plot was instead just a pastiche of amusing stereotypes and borrowed things, and oh, look, a sword fight. Oh, look, the bad guys are wearing black leather jackets. Of course, we have to have a love interest. Yeah, just one, kind of like, when people complain about history, is just one darn thing after another. That's basically how the plot was. So it meant, well, it was mildly entertaining. I've definitely seen far, far worse. But yeah, it inspired neither deep thought nor interested feelings. Didn't make me go to Wikipedia and look anything up. So actually, he didn't do that well as a librarian. NT5TM.
That was pretty quick, too. Okay, well, that's fine, and yeah, it's sort of a lot of TV tropes there. Next up is Jay, KG5BZW. Jay, what do you think about the plot?
This is KG5BZW. What can I say? I think Brenda more or less covered it. It was a romp. It was not to be taken seriously. Yeah, it really was. You could easily see where, let me step back and say what I was going to say a little bit differently because this is more accurate. You could see the tropes that were used, not necessarily where they came from, but what tropes were used, and like it wasn't entirely predictable. Or it wasn't entirely predictable, I should say. But it's got Bob Newhart and Dana Kiddick, and I'm getting close to the characters next round. As far as my diet, I enjoyed it. It was not terrible. It was fine. I didn't really. Oh, well, I just stopped it once, but because it was kind of getting cheesy at some point, and I was like, oh, okay, fine. I just dial down the cheddar. Do something else and come back to it. But even though then it was like, compared to a lot of other movies, they did try their best to make the script mildly amusing throughout. So, and I don't know, Johnson. I think Johnson has really not the worst of them for sure. It was okay. There's not really much to say. It's like, realize that you kind of break down the magic of it, whereas if it was actually something thoughtful, you analyze it, you actually go deeply. There's not much depth there. There's literally like almost zero depth here. It's just some amusing characters and it's kind of amusing situations, and all I can say. KG5BCW.
All right, thank you, Jay. Next up is Cruz. KI5KWG. What do you got to say about the librarian from KE5ICS?
That they, KI5KWG, that they shamelessly borrowed from every adventure story of the era, and they did it with a wink. It was very satisfying. I enjoyed it. The silliness of it, kind of like Brenda said, is you're not trying to make it make sense, really. It was just the right amount of comedy. I guess maybe I was in the mood for this sort of film. Like everybody else, I'd never heard of it. But I enjoyed it. I kind of amazed looking back at it, going, how did they make that work? And but they did, and I think the acting did a lot of the heavy lifting on that too. But screenwriters, they get the nod on this. I think they took what could have easily have been nothing and made it into something really entertaining. That's what I've got. KI5, KWG. Back to net.
Okie dokie, thank you, Cruz. Let's see if we can rustle a few more people in here. We are talking about tonight's Afterglow Movie Net is about the movie The Librarian, The Curse of the Judas Chalice, number 3 in the series of 3 movies about the librarian from 2008. If you would like to join us this evening, you don't necessarily have to have seen it. There was also a television series based on this, so if you've seen the TV series on TNT, you can also talk about that if you'd like. In any case, I'll go ahead and take additional check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come to your call sign name. Did you see this particular film, The Curse of the Judas Chalice?
November Golf 5 Yankee, Allen in North Garland, and yes, I saw the movie.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sir Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, I've seen the movie.
Well, great. We got two more. I've got NG5Y, Alan. He saw the movie. Welcome back, Alan. And KD5SOK, Sean. And he's their regular. So we'll start with Alan, KG5Y. Alan, what did you think of the plot for The Librarian, The Curse of Judas Chalice?
Well, like the other stations have mentioned, the movie borrowed from just about every place it could. Reminded me a little bit of Indiana Jones, a little bit of Sherlock Holmes, a little bit of The Mummy. And I came in with very low expectations and was pleasantly surprised. It wasn't a movie to be taken seriously, but as far as entertainment, it definitely had that. It did have kind of an all-star cast. Kind of funny to see Bob Newhart in that. Overall, I enjoyed the movie. NG5Y, back to that.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Alan. And next, KB5SOK, Sean. Your thoughts on the plot from KE5IC?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, as everybody said, they stole from everything. It was like a cross between Indiana Jones and maybe like, James Bond. We had this guy that apparently knows everything and can solve any mystery. and like you said, it absolutely borrowed from everything. It was just okay for me. I kind of struggled with this one to some extent because, I actually like, movies that do sometimes explore mysteries or treasure hunts, but I like them that the actual clues make sense. To me, it was just like they were just pulling things up literally out of the air, coming up with, where they should go next, and it just, I actually think it, is kind of the opposite. If someone thought that the screenwriters did a good job, I actually think they didn't take their time with this and they rushed it just to get it out. From my understanding, I think the second movie was the more popular one. I think it did pretty well, which is probably why they made the third, then eventually made the TV series. I've heard of this series, and just because a few years back when I was visiting my mom, she happened to be watching it, and I said, "What are you watching?" She was watching the TV series, and she really likes the TV series. I'm not sure if she ever saw the movies, but the 15 or 20 minutes that I watched of it, it looked pretty much just like this. So it seemed to me that to me watching it the whole time, it felt like just a TV episode. Very low budget. But yeah, like I said, I was kind of disappointed because, I like it when it's, you can try to figure out the clues with them or when they do point it out, things like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But this really didn't for me. And it kind of, I just, a few days back, finished up the new National Treasure on Disney Plus. And it was kind of the same way. I was disappointed with it because they were just pulling these clues out of the air. It's like, that doesn't make sense. It's like, so it's, when you do these kind of movies, I think they really need to be careful and be very thoughtful about, exactly how everything ties together, because then it makes it believable. And I think that was the problem I had with it. I just didn't buy it. And even though it had a lot of high-level actors, which some of them did do a good job, I just wouldn't believe after watching this show that I'd put the fate of the world in this guy's hands. Because that's what they do. They go get all the bad items that bad things could do. Somebody who got in the wrong hands could do something with. So yeah, it definitely was by no means our worst movie. And I can't say that I hated it, but I didn't really like it either. And I really don't think I'll be watching the other two movies. It kind of fell short for me, and I felt the sense of humor was kind of, fell flat in a lot of places. But anyway, yeah, that's all I got on that. Back to net, KB9, that's okay.
All right, very good. Thank you, Sean. And we're at the bottom of the list. I'll go and ask if there's any additional check-ins. Anyone else want to join us this evening for the afternoon movie? The Librarian, Curse of the Judas Chalice. Anyone want to join us? Come now. Okay, hearing none, I'll go ahead and give my comments. I noticed everybody was kind of light on the plot, you know, exactly what happened. And I also looked at the plot as it was laid out in Wikipedia. And Wikipedia even says this article's plot summary may be too long or excessively detailed and it's bold. So I have a tendency to agree with Sean on this one. There were so many elements in here and sort of randomly thrown together that it was a bit odd, and I think we all had, I could be wrong, I don't want to clump everybody into my thought process here, but I think everybody, to me, it seemed, at least to me, it seemed kind of convoluted and messy. It was fun, it was entertaining, the acting was quite fun, and we'll get to talk about that in a bit, but the actual story kind of meandered, it was all over the place, so it was difficult to know exactly what was going on at any given time. I don't know how many times we got the Russians to show up and he is one more time, they keep following him around. They can't seem to keep track of him because he always escapes. That seems a bit odd to me as well. And Tony mentioned it, and I think he nailed it with all the stereotypes and the things that are going on, the guys in the fight. And then that highly improbable thing that was supposed to be funny, and I guess it was, that there's a sword fight in the middle of this auction, and there's two workers down there, and they're carrying this supposedly priceless painting around, oversized painting, and out the door, while the two of them are dueling, and they don't even care about the fact that they've got two swords with sharp points slinged around while they're carrying this thing out. It was a bit far-fetched. Another thing to keep in mind, too, and this is always something I have trouble with as well, and I think this was mentioned by Cruz, I believe, the supernatural aspects of it. That's okay. I have the same problem others do with supernatural processes of films, is that it's ex machina. It produces plot contrivances and silliness that comes out that makes it somewhat unpredictable, but also it kind of cheats because then your heroes manage to get out of those jams. Case in point was the girlfriend or the gal that could run really fast and do all these things and then get shot. That sort of thing. That was kind of impractical. Another reason probably why I'm not a huge fan of superhero movies that are out there, because they just kind of reduce actual danger to nothing. It's on a limited budget too, which means that they do have to kind of draw upon their repartee, and there's a lot of talking back and forth on things, which is okay, but that kind of slows it down a little bit. Or they do slow, inexpensive sword, action type things that can be done on the set, all that. So I guess that works in some way. It was very popular, though. A lot of people really liked the series, and it did spawn a television series for 3 seasons. So I guess it's got some popularity to it. This film probably was the weakest of the 3 from what I've read. I only saw the first one. I don't remember anything about it. And then we see this one, which I don't remember a lot about either, really, to be honest with you. It was still entertaining. Okay, let's go to the top of the list. We'll go ahead and talk about characterization. What did you think about, well, I don't know, the librarian and all the other characters? Don't forget, we've got Bob Newhart in it and Jane Kirk. So we'll start with Bill, N5BB. Bill, what did you think of characterization for this film?
Well, thank you, Tom. This is N5BB. Did anybody else, us older people at least, somehow think there was some resemblance to Time Tunnel? Remember the Time Tunnel series? maybe it's something about the Burgess Meredith character on Time Tunnel made me think something about the Bob Newhart character here. I don't know. I don't know why Time Tunnel suddenly kind of came up. But anyway, okay, characterization. This is N5BB. The Bob Newhart character, I had a hard time understanding. Initially, he's just some guy that seemed to be in charge of the library. Like I say, I don't know who funded it. I don't know exactly where it is. I think maybe in London or something, but I'm not sure. Got a little confused there at the start. There was an airplane trip involved, so I think maybe it was in London or in England somewhere. But I didn't understand exactly who the Bob Newhart character was, and at the end of it, it's even more confusing. Is he really some supernatural character? Is he kind of a vampire or something? The supernatural part of that, I wasn't happy with. It just, to me, it was just confusing. Just some plot things thrown in there, just to mess with your mind. And the Jane Curtin character was not very important in this episode, really, and was a little bit of a bumbling, silly person, kind of. I mean, at one point, when she found out he wrote a check for $1 million, did she faint or fall down or something? What's with that? That doesn't really happen in the real world. Not like that. And to me, she didn't really, it really wasn't really written for her in a way that made her really seem like a independent, strong person that was in charge. She seemed to kind of be fumbling around. That's my belief. So I don't like the way either of those two characters were written. As far as the protagonist, of course, 99% or 95% of this was about him. And at some points, he seemed a little like a goofball. You know, his facial expressions and even some of the things he did. At other points, he's in there where he learned to fight with all those with those swords that way. Why are they fighting with swords? Doesn't make any sense. It's kind of like a James Bond movie. A lot of it just doesn't make sense. It's like his superpower is he's a librarian. He knows all these things. Well, I don't know. That wouldn't allow him to get out of all these binds the way he did, if you ask me. Again, he seems to be kind of a loser kind of character, kind of living in a cheap apartment or something. I don't know, with stuff all thrown around. I really didn't understand that part at all. He wasn't a James Bond kind of, you know, even though he tried to act like a James Bond character at the start, you know, they're a very suave character. In reality, he wasn't. He seemed to be just kind of like a goofball guy. So I don't know. I didn't understand that writing. It didn't seem consistent to me. Did the actor do okay? Yeah, I think he did okay in playing that character. He seemed kind of believable in his acting. But again, I think the writing was a little goofy. And all, as Tom said earlier, all over the place. They couldn't concentrate on one plot thing. They had to throw in all these subplots. So that's what bothered me about that. His girlfriend there, well, she was just thrown in and thrown out very quickly. She didn't have to do very much. She was treated badly, but she also seemed to be kind of a not written very deeply. She wasn't a very deep character. She seemed to be a shallow person. The vampire-ess, I think she acted it very well, considering what the plot was, and I think it was probably one of the more interesting characters. We learned a little bit about her backstory and other stuff. Again, I didn't really like the supernatural aspect of it, but if you bought into that, I thought it was written okay for her, and she did a pretty good job acting on it. The bad guys were bad guys. Very simple, stupid thing. Bad Russian guys, and I don't know. They played the thugs, but that's about it. And like I said, as Tom or somebody else said, they kept coming back. Why couldn't they shake them? Why do they keep coming back? And you'd think, the first time they said, let's kill them all, they didn't kill them all. They kept on letting them live, and they kept on coming back and letting them escape again and coming back. Another one of those movies like that, just like the James Bond kind of movies. The very evil villain that's going to blow up the world, he toys with James Bond, lets him see what he's doing, and lets him escape. Sigh. Same thing here. The end of the movie was, I don't know, in some parts a letdown, but they had to terminate the episode somewhere to continue to the next one. That's all I got. Inside BB.
All right, thank you, Bill. And next up is Brenda, WB50ZL. What do you think about characterization from KE5ICX?
This is WB50ZL. I thought the characterization was just fine. Wasn't too familiar with the main character, but the girlfriend, of course, was Beckett on Castle, one of my favorite all-time shows. I thought it was okay. Actually, I am very tired and falling asleep, so I think I'm going to bid farewell. And I'll see y'all next time. So this is Stella.
I think she fell asleep midway with pressing her push to talk, so she's out. Probably her head is on the table, her mouth is open, and the radio is static, making static right now. So we'll see. Next up is Tony, NT5TM. Tony, what do you think of characterization from KE5ICX?
Well, I did sort of sympathize for the main character because, well, I cannot sword fight. Aaron and I both have nerding out disease. Someone will say, oh, is that a great egret? And we'll say, well, technically that's Ardea alba that's called an egret, but it's really a heron. It's not related to the other. Oh, shoot, yes it is. It's beautiful, isn't it? Enjoy. Take pretty pictures. So I did enjoy being able to relate to the compulsive nerding out, and as one of the bad guys said, why do you always talk in whole paragraphs? Well, it's because we were taught to write topic sentences when we were little, and we can't recover from it. But that was just a couple of little things to get through a lot of movie with. The characters were mostly, I don't know. I mean, they were kind of harmless. They were like, a nice little cup of tea. Nothing too deep here, but pleasant to sip. Not a lot. I think that's my analogy, and I'm sticking with it. Nothing to drink deep of, but pleasant to take little sips. NT5TM.
All right, thank you, Tony. Next up is Jay, KG5BZW. Jay, what do you think of characterization?
I'm sorry. I got to laugh at Tony's little analogy there because I normally think of stuff that's deep as something that you take sips of, and this was definitely not deep. But anyway, just because around your palate and let the smells and taste kind of come in and just anyway I'm getting distracted. We are on characterization here, and this story, it's really about Jane Curtin, Bob Newhart, Noah Wiley, sorry, my thing is, there we go. I guess Kedic, or I'm not sure. I've never known how to pronounce her name, but yeah, I know her over Castle as Brenda was talking about it, and I remember watching my parents, and, well, long story about that. Even Bruce Davidson, well, I don't know. He only comes to fruition a little bit later. I'd say, I mean, the main cast, you're here to watch those. Well, they don't even have Jane as top billed, which is kind of sad, but you're watching this film to watch these actors. That's really all it is. And they made the plot tolerable enough that you weren't really offended by what was going on, and just I'd say Noah's a little bit more goofy in this film than in other things I've seen. Not that I've seen him in a lot. Bob Newhart. I will say this about Judson. I felt like there was something I had missed, because there's that one scene where he goes, looks like the librarian, Lynn Carson, goes to like a barbershop, and Judson magically appears as different people there. It's like, what the heck is going on there? I mean, the whole scene was amusing still. I liked it, but I felt like I was not explained that aspect of that character, and I was robbed. Otherwise, I mean, I'm maybe the deepest was Simone Renor's kind of character. I don't know. Much if I go to say in addition, maybe I could think more deeply about the film, but I really these actors that have that can do very amusing characters. You're here to watch that, and I'm sticking with that, and that's really the thing to watch. The reason to watch this film. That's all I can say. KG5BCW.
All right, thank you, Jay. Next up is Cruz, KI5KWG. What do you think of the characterization?
KI5KWG. I like Bob Newhart. That was my treat for this film, was seeing Bob Newhart was in it. I thought all of I thought he did quite well with a comic James Bond sort of not quite over the top adventure hero, and the young woman, I think, was a Bond girl, wasn't she? I was trying to place her, and I saw she was in one of the films that didn't have anything to do with the book. Quantum of Solace, which is my favorite Ian Fleming story, but didn't have any part in the movie. At any rate, I thought they all did quite well. It was a comedy, and like I said, I enjoyed it, and I thought the actors kind of had a difficult job making it work, and they did it. KI5KWG, back to net.
All right, thank you, Cruz. Alan, NG5Y, you're up. What do you think of characterization for the Curse of the Judas Chalice?
Well, I liked the characters except for the Russians. The Russians were never really developed that much. I thought it was all too convenient that many of the leading characters turned out to be also vampires. Going back to the plot a little bit, I like the whole backstory of the chalice was made from the coins that Judas got. That's really about it. I am going to sign off for the night. Thanks for the net, and back to you, MG51.
Uh-oh, they're dropping like flies. That's okay. I'm fighting sleep as well. Well, let's see how far we get. Thanks, Alan, for checking in. Hope to see you next week. Next up is Sean, KB5SOK. Sean, what'd you think of characterization?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, I think the actors, for the most part, did a pretty reasonable job. Bob Newhart basically played Bob Newhart. But I think I figured out what he was. I think he's actually a Time Lord, and that's why he can live for, long time, because he's got multiple lives. And after all, his library is bigger on the inside than the house, so it has to be his TARDIS, right? Maybe that's what it is. But, I like Bob Newhart. He was okay in it. And then, obviously our accounting lady, I thought it was a bit overdone, the complaining. But, she was completely believable. And then I think really the strongest character for me was the vampire, the lady that was in Castle. I think she did give the strongest performance. Maybe it's because you did learn something about her from her backstory. But I just think she acted it, put all into it and really went for it. So I thought she was the strongest. Now, for me, I actually thought the weakest was our protagonist, actually. Once again, I didn't buy him as a hero. To me, he didn't feel like a James Bond or an Indiana Jones he didn't feel like somebody that was, that could handle himself in those kind of situations. Yes, I do believe he's super smart. But I just don't buy the other part of it, being able to take on and destroy anything, and just have that presence of being able to handle any situation. So, he just didn't strike me as that way. So I thought he was the most disappointing. But, I thought all the rest of the actors did a pretty good job. And I'm not even going to say the protagonist, the guy who played, I don't know his name, his fault. I have a feeling that's the way the character was maybe somewhat written. Because maybe, I knew there was a lot of comic elements, and maybe this series is supposed to be more of a comedy than a serious, science fiction kind of thing, or mystical thing. But all in all, it was okay. It's by far it's better than a few of the movies we've seen recently. So it was just okay in my book. So back to net. KB9, that's okay.
All right, thank you, Sean. Anyone else want to check in? Tonight's Afterglow movie is Curse of the Judas Chalice from the Librarian series. If you'd like to join us, please come now with your call. Okay, didn't hear anyone. What can I add? Not much, really. I think our main character was kind of entertaining. I liked him. He was endearing and kind of a smart ass, but that was okay. Self-assured, genius in all regards. He inserted your encyclopedic knowledge allows him to know everything about everything and easily cut to the chase. We don't have to worry about interpretations. He knows what that's all about. What are all the pieces? What do they do? What are all the antiquities? All of those things. He just knows it all, as you would expect, right? Let's see. What else can I say that would work with him? But it's okay. The Jane Curtin. The thing about here's the thing. If I remember correctly, and I could be remembering somewhat imperfectly, I think Bob Newhart recruited the guy because he was getting old. He didn't want to do it anymore. He needed somebody younger that could do all the adventures, which we know is all very physical. And Bob Newhart, even though he's some sort of a phantom, didn't want to do that anymore because he's using a walker or something like that. So I think that was the story. The Jane Curtin character, I think she runs not only the underground thing, but she runs the other museum too. So this kind of reminds me of the days of what was it, UFO, where they have the studio upstairs, and then they go underground, and you've got the secret alien organization underground, or the one to combat the underground organization. Characters. Bob Newhart plays Bob Newhart. So just expect Bob Newhart. Jane Curtin had a little more of a weighty role, though she didn't get a lot to say in this particular film. I suspect she has a bigger role in the previous two films. She also appeared in the television series, or so it says here, so maybe there's something to that as well. What else? Our vampire was kind of entertaining. I thought he was kind of fun in the end. He too is the same way. He keeps spouting out stuff until finally he gets killed off. So I think a lot of the speech just went on, and so the characterization suffered from it too because it kept doing the same things over and over again. But even still, I mean, some of the lines were cute and they were delivered in fun ways. Now, I did take some notes. I'm kind of an Irwin Allen fan, so when Bill started talking about time tunnel, my ears perked up because he said Burgess Meredith. Burgess Meredith was not in Time Tunnel. The person I think the series you're thinking of was called Search or Probe, and that was TV, movies, and television series that did back in 1971 to pursue and expose and find things that have been insured but somehow have been lost. And he played that role, with the big screen in front of him and doing all that. In Time Tunnel, it was Whit Bissell who played Admiral Kirk. He was the guy that ran the time tunnel very poorly, I might tell you, because he could never really get anything to work correctly. Everybody in the past ended up in the time tunnel and brought to the present, 1968, if I remember correctly. But you could never get the two lost time travelers back. That would be Doug and Tony. Never get them back. They always were transferred to another famous moment in history with aliens. And I mean the ones that are extraterrestrial were in a lot of episodes for no apparent reason. Okay, what else? Not much to say. Stereotypical characters are abound in the film, which also has a tendency to take away from real characterization. Okay, it is now 11:30. I will go with special effects. Anything else you want to add? We had a couple of people drop out, so this will probably go quickly. I'll go to the top of the list. Bill at 5BD, what did you think of anything, really, about the film? You can talk about special effects, music, or anything that has been discussed and you wish to discuss further. It's an open round. So go ahead, Bill, from KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. This is N5BB. Thank you very much for for correcting me. It's Search, of course, with Burgess Meredith. Oh, I'm sorry. That's a big mistake. But that's what I was looking for in my memory, was that. But it's a similar thing, you know. There's kind of a control center. And the thing we watched this time, it was the library. Because they're like the control center, and they got some agents that go out and do something in the field, and they keep in contact with them. In this case, I think Jane Curtin called him on his cell phone or something. It wasn't very fancy. And then there's other people in charge. In this case, Bob Newhart. I don't know. Special effects. Well, there are some vampire special effects. And what else would happen? Where Bob Newhart was kind of remotely talking to him or communicating with him, that was some kind of special effect, which I didn't exactly understand because he seemed to not take it very seriously, the protagonist. I don't know. But I guess that was it. They were okay. And I guess, this thing was entertaining, but to me it wasn't very intellectually satisfying. Let's put it that way. That's all I got. Good evening in 5BB. Good night. And don't forget, daylight saving time. It's singular, by the way. Daylight saving time. Tomorrow morning at 2 a.m., set your clock. Bring it ahead an hour tonight before you go to bed. In 5BB clear.
Exactly right, Bill. It's fall back and spring forward, or is it fall forward and spring back? Yeah, right. Okay, Brenda's gone. Let's move to Tony. Tony, you still out there? Anything you want to add about the film? NT5PM from KE5ICX.
Really, I just want to briefly complain about the music. The essence of a fun, not too serious vampire movie is fun, not too serious music. That's why I love The Lost Boys so much. That's an important way in this movie falls short. I mean, at least it wasn't, bad synthesizer stuff, but still, it was generic, serious. We're going to take ourselves seriously music. It wasn't as goofy. There was no Weird Al even. NT5TM.
All right, thank you, Tony. And by the way, I am not a vampire movie fan or vampire fan so much, but I do like The Lost Boys. I do watch it from time to time. There's just something kind of fun about that film that works. So, any rate, yeah, I'm with you. Let's see, next up, Jay, KG5BZW. Jay, anything else you want to mention about the film? This is around on special effects and music and stuff like that, but it can be anything you want. It's an open round. If you've got something else you want to talk about, that's fine too. From KE5ICX.
I can't think of much really. KG5BZW here. I do recall, I did not see this film. At least I don't think I did. I'm pretty sure I saw part of one of the other films. I'm kind of wanting to go back and see the whole thing about was a film. There's a certain amount. There's a certain type of TV that you go home and you kind of want to sit around and just chill or whatever. Go home as in go visit your parents, sit around and chill and say, oh, hey, let's watch a film. And it's like, well, okay, you got your the films that you would like to watch, and your parents have the films they would like to watch, or at least my mom did. My dad really did. My dad, among that thing entirely, but he had his own thing. Not really films, but other stuff. But again, that's unfortunately something that's big, really related. My point being, like, there's these films that you can fairly safely not, watch with your parents, and nothing really broach some sort of topic which might cause a kind of stern, not so pleasant conversation. It was just, it's just kind of fun to be had by all. The fun is to be had by all, and I do appreciate it for being that. Other than that, there's things that can be said, but after all, we are talking about this is daylight saving time night, so try to keep it short. KG5BCW.
Okie doke, thank you, Jay. Next up is Cruz, KF5KWG. Cruz, your final comments.
KF5KWG. She steals the boat. He's walking with his friend down the dirt road, and they start playing some She's Done. I laughed out loud. I thought that was brilliant. Anyway, I enjoyed the film. That's what I've got for y'all tonight. KI5KWG. Back to net.
Okie dokie, we're just blazing through this thing. Sean, KB5SOK, your final comments on our film tonight.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, the music definitely wasn't anything special. I'm sure it was stock stuff that they had. The special effects really weren't all that special, but I realized this was a made-for-TV movie. It's like when they had Excalibur trying to fight with him. I mean, you could clearly tell it was CG. And I got mixed feelings, on this kind of stuff. I realize they don't have much of a budget, but they want to make it look, like it's really happening. But if you can't do CG well, don't do it at all. It's kind of how I feel about CG. So I think they would almost been better if they left a few of those scenes out. But everything was okay. The only thing I would mention is that at one point I was thinking, wow, is this an advertisement for going to New Orleans? Did they pay for part of this movie? Because they were showing all the activities, and so I was like, okay, a little bit of commercialing going on here. But then, yeah, it's funny to find out they didn't actually film it there. So that's kind of crazy. And I know I've been kind of bagging on this movie tonight, but it is just okay. This is definitely a movie that you watch while you're doing something else, and you just want some kind of entertainment in the background, and you might hear something that maybe tickles you a little bit, and you go on, you just don't take it seriously. But anyway, enjoyed the conversation like always. Back to net. This is KB9SOK.
Okie dokie. Thank you, Sean. Thank you for your comments. Nothing really to add. No special effects or anything like that. Really, the ones we saw were pretty much mediocre. But you got to remember. Well, it's only 2008. Well, it's been a while. I mean, that's 14 years. It's a long time in the world of technology. So yeah, okay, we'll give them that. Plus, it was a TNT movie. What do you want? They're not going to spend a ton of money. I mean, the biggest thing they can do is come up with spirit gum for beards or, Civil War movies that they usually would run. But I digress. Nothing much to add. I'm trying to think of anything that I thought was really stuck out in the film. I don't really have anything. I was going to say something. I guess I'm not. All right. Hang on, folks. Let me tell you what next week's movie is, because I don't remember. Please stand by. Oh, this is a good one, everybody. Here it is. Next week's movie, the 18th, is Queen Kong. Queen Kong from 1976, not King Kong from 1976. I think that was actually 1975. This one is called Queen Kong from 1976. I'll send the links out. Or you can go to Afterglow Movie, those two words, Afterglow Movie, and you can find it there underneath guides. All the movies are listed under guides now, because that's the only way I can do it, edit without going through World War III. They changed up Facebook a while back, so I use the guides as a way of organizing the movies. And it works pretty well. All right, I'm going to say 7-3 to everybody. It's 11:39. It's going to be an hour later, so you're going to get up later tomorrow. So I'm going to say goodnight to everybody. Thank you. Good discussion. I'm glad we had a movie that was reasonably entertaining as opposed to terrible. Not sure about next week's movie. This one was actually recommended by my videographer guy in the office. He thinks it was kind of hilarious, so we'll find out. His sense of humor is a bit quirky, but so are ours. All right, see y'all later. 7-3, have a good evening. Enjoy your truncated weekend by 1 hour. Bye-bye. KE5ICX is clear.